John Favara, a 51-year-old man, lived an unassuming life in Howard Beach, Queens, with his wife Janet and their 2 adopted children. He worked at a Castro convertibles factory in New Hyde Park, Long Island. Despite having no ties to organized crime, the man lived next door to the notorious mob boss, John Gotti. Favara got along with the Gottis, and his son frequently had sleepovers with John Gotti Jr. when he was young, but all of that changed on March 18, 1980. Favara completed his shift at the factory that day. John Gotti's son, Frank Gotti, borrowed a mini bike from a neighbor and rode it into the street just as Favara was driving down it. The sun glared in Favara's eyes, and a nearby construction dumpster created a blind spot, hiding Frank from his view. Unaware that he had struck Frank, Favara continued driving, unknowingly dragging the child for 200 feet until neighbors spotted the incident and frantically banged on his window, shouting for him to stop. No charges were ever brought against Favara, and the death was ruled an accident, but the Gottis later alleged that he had been intoxicated at the time he hit Frank with his vehicle. Only 2 days after Frank's death, local authorities received a call from an unknown woman saying that Favara was going to be killed. In the months that followed, Favara received numerous death threats. Letters arrived at his doorstep, threatening phone calls were made by people who refused to identify themselves. A picture of Frank Gotti was put in his mailbox, and the word murderer was spray painted on his car. John Gotti's wife also attacked him with a baseball bat outside his home, and he soon realized the threats weren't a joke. The Favara family soon put their house up for sale, and just over a month later, they were in the process of selling it to a buyer. 6 days before the closing date, the Gotti family left for a vacation in Florida, likely seeking time and space to grieve the recent loss of their son. Or maybe they left so that Gotti would have an alibi for what was about to happen next. On July 28th, a group of men confronted Favara near his work and forced him into a van, and this was the last time Favara was ever seen. When the Gottis returned from their trip on August 4th, 1980, they were immediately questioned about the abduction. Gotti's wife claimed she didn't know what happened, and Gotti supposedly shrugged and said, "He killed my kid." Favara was officially declared dead 3 years later in 1983, with very few clues as to what happened to his body. One account said that while he was alive, he was dismembered with a chainsaw, stuffed into a barrel filled with concrete, and dumped into the ocean, or buried somewhere on the lot of a chop shop. In 2004, a potential lead surfaced when federal agents learned the location of a mafia dumping ground in Ozone Park. 2 bodies were found, but neither one was Favara. Court documents from the murder trial of Gambino family mobster Charles Carneglia seemed to provide some answers. According to a witness statement, Carneglia shot Favara on Gotti's orders, then dissolved the body in a vat of acid to eliminate the possibility of his body being found. However, this claim was never proven. The circumstances surrounding his death remain shrouded in mystery. Though many believe they know what happened and who was responsible, his body was never recovered, and no one was ever convicted for the crime.